Hey y'all, welcome back or welcome to my channel. My name is Sierra and I post videos on this channel every single Friday. I post Christian booktube content, so shop around my channel, you'll get the gist of what I put out, but welcome or welcome back, like I already said. Today's video is going to be, I think, my first in-depth series review. I know I've done book reviews and favorites lists, but I don't think I've ever focused solely on a series, but that's exciting. Just a side note. The series I will be sharing with you today is the Cities of Refuge series by Connilyn Cossette. I have read all 4 books. I got them for this last Christmas, Christmas 2020, from my grandparents. I have been honestly wanting to read these books for close to a year now. I've had them on my TBR for almost a year, and I finally got them for Christmas and finally got the chance to read them. And I thought it would take me like a whole month because I average about 1 book a week. And I think I finished the whole series in 3 weeks. I just could not put it down. So you can tell already that I do like these books, but I will be going in depth into each book, then give you some short comments about the whole series overall. I would say there are some like light spoilers to the series, maybe. It depends on how you define a spoiler. I detest spoilers, so whenever anyone starts talking about like a book or a TV show that I'm interested in that I haven't started yet, I like leave the room. That's how much I hate spoilers. Other people are fine if you spoil like the first 50 pages, but you don't spoil the ending. So just, this is your warning. There are some small, light spoilers ahead, however you define that. The first book in the series is A Light on the Hill, and I absolutely adored this book. It was so amazing. The main character's name is Mariah, and the whole book is from her first person perspective. The rest of the series both come from 2 different perspectives. This was the only one with only one perspective, if that makes sense. And at times there were moments and scenes in the book where I really wanted to know what the other main character was thinking and feeling, but not knowing honestly kept me reading it to find out like if he would reveal if what he had said and done was honest or if it was just an act, if that makes sense. Only getting the story from Mariah's perspective definitely kept me reading it, as well as I think if we had only had half the book from her perspective, we wouldn't have gotten nearly as much character development, which was just so crucial to the whole story. The event that like sets the whole story in motion, the inciting incident that just like reaches up to the climax, and then the resolution, it all needed to be mostly focused around Mariah. And I don't really know what the book would have accomplished if we had spent time from the other main character's perspective. Like, I don't really think it would have added to the book. This is my way of saying it was written well, and I like how this one only has one perspective, and just the development, again, like you only have to spend a little time in any of my videos to know that that's really all I care about in a book, is the character development, and this hit it spot on. The second book is Shelter of the Most High. I really appreciated this book for the fact that one of the main characters was not, what tense do you use when you're talking about book characters? Was, I guess? She's not Hebrew, so she did not grow up in that culture. She knows nothing about it, and when she enters into that culture and like it has to learn the language, the customs, all of those things, the laws of the Hebrew people, it honestly helps the reader understand it better. And I just love how that tool was used by Connilyn Cossette to just, in making the character understand the culture, the reader gets to understand it a little bit better, which was so phenomenally phenomenally, it was so wonderfully written. We'll use that word. So as I said before, the rest of the books in the series, there are two perspectives. So this one, of course there were. The two different storylines that, well, I mean, they weren't separate storylines, they merged together very quickly on, but the two separate characters, I guess their individual, like personal character development merged together to make the relationship arc that much better. I loved what was his name? Okay, so the way I say it, I don't know how other people say it, but the main character, I say it Aitan. Don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it. Whatever. But Aitan's character, just from point A to point B, from the beginning of the story to the end of the story, just, oh my gosh, it pulled at my heartstrings so much. I loved it, and the way the whole book ended, he makes this final decision towards the end of the book, and it just was amazing. It's one of those books that I kind of like got to this certain section and I was like, oh my gosh, and just kind of had to sit and like stare at the wall for a little bit, because there was a lot of stuff going on at the end, but there were so many like decisions and crucial key things happening that I just had to like take a step back a couple of times and be like, hold up, what? And then kind of reread a little bit. And I love books that do that to me, where it's just like, whoa, you're kind of just dumbstruck, honestly. So I adore this one as well. The third book is Until the Mountains Fall, and this one, I have so many things I want to say about this one. So I guess the first thing I want to say is that there is a very strong parallel to the prodigal son, the story of the prodigal son in, I think it's Luke chapter, I don't want to get it wrong, so we'll just say it's in Luke. The final like section, the author's note in here actually like said that was part of the point of the story, but when I read these books, I actually took notes in them. So like I would write on sticky notes and just like put it in the book, and multiple points, like I have multiple notes in the book. This is just like the prodigal son. And I was like, wait, I bet this is gonna happen, and something like that. And it did. I was able to kind of like guess at how that aspect of the story was gonna go, which was pretty cool. Just, that's some fun, like, not trivia, but just like, it's a fun nod to those who know the parable of the prodigal son. Most people do, but then again, if you're coming at the book and you know nothing about it, it's still gonna make sense. Honestly, I think it's just more of an encouragement to go read that parable again. The second big thing I wanna say about this one is there are so many plot twists. The last quarter of the book, just every single chapter is like plot twist, plot twist, plot twist. And I was able to keep up, but honestly, I kept, like, again, writing down in the notes, like, how many plot twists are there in this book? To me, it felt like some of them were massive, like, life-altering plot twists, but it just wasn't how I thought the story was gonna go. It wasn't how the story was predicted to go, like, with the setup. It was so amazing. I love books that kind of like catch me off my guard like that, and I'm not able to say, oh, that's gonna happen. I'm okay when I'm able to read the first half of a book and know how it's going to end. And I do like those books. There's nothing wrong with them, but I love books that I can open it up, like read the first half, think it's gonna go one way, and then it goes in a completely different direction. That's the mark of a really good book in my mind, because that means that plot is not overdone. And so reading a not too overdone plot, something I've never read before, it makes books stick out to me, and that is why I really, really liked this book. The final book in this series is Like Flames in the Night, and this was the most like, I don't know how to say it. I guess it was actually the least like romance-driven book, if that makes sense. I wrote down in like my notes when I was kind of preparing for this video, like what I want to say. It's like 60% action adventure and 40% romance. I'm not sure action and adventure is necessarily the right word, maybe more suspense and thrill driven, less like mellow. Well, honestly, none of the books have any just mellow plot to them. They're all very, I guess, intense, not intense, yeah, I guess intensity driven, and just like this happens and then this happens and then this happens, and there's like action and battle on top of the romance, which I really like, that it's not just straight romance. I mean, it's literally set in BC times. It's not gonna be a contemporary romance, and that set apartness is very, very clear. The two characters in this book, they just have such different motivations. So the female character, Tirza, her motivations and her like inner spirit and drive is so different than the other three. It's so much less down to earth and just, I'm meant to grow up and get married and be a mother. She wants to be part of the action, be a spy. So much of the story is rooted in her like desire to serve God in a different capacity, serve her people in a different capacity than others want her to. And I just love that. And the male character, Liam, his whole story, honestly, I don't want to spoil any of it, because I did go into this book like just knowing it was the final one in the series. I didn't know anything about it, and I loved that. Like, I loved reading it not knowing anything about the characters. But Liam's story, it just gives you such a different perspective, and the way his part of the book opens and the way his part of the book closes is honestly, I believe, one of the best character arcs I have ever read. The resolution was phenomenal. It brought tears to my eyes. It was convicting. It was everything a character arc should be. So those are my individual thoughts about all of the books. I think some overall thoughts about the whole series would just be that they're definitely not straight romance books, like I said. They have a healthy balance of action and thrilling battle and stuff, and then there's also romance. It's a very nice mix. And also just the individual, like the women in the series are not all just like lovesick, waiting for the men to come home characters. They actually have like very important roles. What I wrote down in the outline for this video is these books are not cliche. They're not cliche, they're not what you expect. They're so different and out of the ordinary, and they're a must read if you want to learn more about kind of more obscure parts of Hebrew history, the history of Israel. I learned so much about that history. That's honestly, the Bible only covers like a couple of verses and a few chapters on some of the stuff that happens in these books, but I still feel like it was so worth the read to learn about those little parts that honestly not many people might care about, but Connilyn Cossette did, and she put it into books, and now I care about it, and I love it. So those are kind of all of my thoughts on the books. I loved them so much. I'm currently reading another Connilyn Cossette book. I think she's probably like one of my favorite authors now. I adore her writing style. It is so unique, and honestly, it is the mark of not just being the way she writes and the way she uses words, to me, is not just the mark of a good writer. It is the mark of an amazing author. I hope that makes sense. Like, calling yourself a writer is okay, but a true author exhibits the kind of talent that Connilyn Cossette put into these books. And I was just so blown away by so many like just paragraphs or use of this word or that word, the way the dialogue just wrapped together so many scenes was stunning and beautiful, and honestly just a work of art. I loved the writing style, if you can't tell. But that is my final thought on this series. I love it so much and I think you should go read it. I will link it in the description wherever I can find it. Again, I got these books as a gift, so I'm pretty sure you can get them off of Amazon and like christianbooks.com. But I will find it and link it for you, and let me know your thoughts if you have read this series and if you like it, or if you didn't like it. I guess I could hear that as well. But thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week for whatever video that is. Until then, bye!